Antarctica is a tomb, not of people, of time. 2 kilometers of ice bury whatever existed before the freeze. And in 2016, scientists discovered something beneath that ice that shouldn't be there. Or lock your doors, put on your headphones, because after this video, you'll never see Antarctica the same way again. The discovery started with routine mapping. The West Antarctic Ice Sheet project, a joint mission between the United States Geological Survey and the British Antarctic Survey, was using ground-penetrating radar to study ice flow patterns. The radar sends pulses into the ice and measures how long they take to bounce back. Dense ice returns a signal quickly. Rock returns it even faster. But in December 2016, the radar detected something that didn't fit either pattern. Dr. Erik Hansen, a glaciologist from the University of Copenhagen, was analyzing the data when he noticed an anomaly. The radar signature showed a structure approximately 150 meters in diameter, buried 2.1 kilometers beneath the ice. The return signal was sharp, metallic, unlike anything they'd seen before. Hansen ran the data through multiple algorithms. He checked for equipment malfunction. He recalibrated the radar. The signature remained. Whatever was down there reflected radar in a way that only metal does. He didn't announce it, not yet. First, he needed confirmation. In early 2017, the team drilled an ice core directly above the anomaly. They used a thermal drill capable of penetrating 2 kilometers of ice. It took 6 weeks. The drill descended slowly, melting through ice that had been frozen since the end of the last ice age, approximately 12,000 years ago. At 2,087 meters, the drill bit hit resistance. Not ice, not rock, something harder. Dr. Rachel Simmons, a materials scientist from MIT who was on site, examined the drill bit after extraction. The tip was blunted, scratched with shallow grooves consistent with contact against a refined metal alloy. She collected metal shavings embedded in the bit. Initial field analysis indicated the presence of titanium, aluminum, and trace amounts of an unknown element with an atomic signature that didn't match any entry in the periodic table. Dr. Simmons filed a preliminary report. She requested additional funding for a full extraction. The request was denied. When she asked why, the response from the National Science Foundation was vague. Logistical concerns, budgetary constraints, environmental restrictions, but no specific reason. Just denial. Here's where it gets strange. 2 months after the denial, Dr. Simmons' access to the ice core samples was revoked. She was told the samples were being transferred to a classified facility for advanced analysis. She asked which facility. They didn't say. She requested her data back. They said it was archived under a non-disclosure protocol. Dr. Simmons left the Antarctic program 6 months later. She refused to speak about the discovery publicly. But in a private interview, archived at MIT, she said one thing: "What we found doesn't fit the timeline. If the ice has been there for 12,000 years, whatever is beneath it is older, is beneath it is older. And the first don't know any human civilization from 12,000 years ago capable of refining titanium alloys." She never spoke about it again, but the radar data still exists. And the anomaly is still there. Let's go back further. Antarctica wasn't always frozen. Geological studies show that between 13,000 and 11,000 years ago, parts of West Antarctica had a temperate climate. Rivers flowed, vegetation grew, and then, abruptly, the temperature dropped. The ice came fast. Within a few hundred years, the entire continent was encased. Dr. John Mercer, a glaciologist who spent 40 years studying Antarctic ice cores, published a controversial paper in 1978. He argued that Antarctica experienced a rapid freeze event, triggered by a sudden shift in ocean currents and atmospheric patterns. The freeze wasn't gradual, it was catastrophic. Anything on the surface would have been buried in a matter of decades. Mercer's paper was largely ignored, but in 2012, new ice core data from the Waze Divide project confirmed his hypothesis. The ice layers show a sharp transition, a boundary where the accumulation rate suddenly accelerated. The ice didn't build up slowly over millennia. It surged in a concentrated period, burying whatever was on the surface before it could decompose. erode, or be scavenged. If something existed on the surface 12,000 years ago, it would be perfectly preserved under the ice, frozen in time. Now, here's the question no one wants to ask. Who was refining titanium alloys 12,000 years ago? Titanium is one of the hardest metals to process. It requires furnaces capable of reaching 1668 degrees Celsius. The metal is incredibly reactive at high temperatures, meaning it must be processed in a vacuum or inert atmosphere to prevent oxidation. Modern titanium refining wasn't developed until the 1940s with the Kroll process. Before that, we couldn't produce pure titanium in any usable quantity. Yet, the shavings from the drill bit contained titanium, not trace amounts. Refined alloy, mixed with aluminum and an unknown element. Dr. Simmons' analysis showed the alloy had a crystalline structure consistent with controlled cooling, a process that requires precision temperature regulation. This isn't something you achieve with a primitive forge. This is industrial metallurgy. But 12,000 years ago, humanity was just emerging from the Ice Age. We were hunter-gatherers. We hadn't developed agriculture yet. We weren't building cities, let alone refining metal alloys. So who built the structure under the ice? In 2018, a researcher named Dr. Charles Hapgood's work resurfaced in Antarctic research circles. Hapgood, a geologist who died in 1982, proposed a theory called crustal displacement. He argued that the Earth's crust could shift rapidly due to imbalances in polar ice accumulation, causing entire continents to move to different latitudes within a short geological time frame. His theory was widely dismissed. But Hapgood referenced ancient maps, specifically the Peary-Rice map of 1513, which shows the coastline of Antarctica without ice. The map is accurate. Modern surveys confirm that the coastline depicted matches the actual landmass beneath the ice. But the map was drawn in 1513, centuries before Antarctica was officially discovered, and millennia before we had ice-penetrating technology. Hapgood argued the map was copied from older sources, ancient maps created by a civilization that mapped Antarctica when it was ice-free. Mainstream historians rejected this. But the accuracy of the Peary-Rice map remains unexplained. And if Hapgood was right, if Antarctica was ice-free in human memory, then it's possible a civilization existed there. A civilization advanced enough to refine metals, construct geometric structures, and leave behind artifacts that we're only now discovering under kilometers of ice. Let's talk about the structure itself. The radar signature showed symmetry, not the irregular shape of a geological formation. Symmetry, geometric, deliberate. Dr. Hansen's team ran 3D reconstructions based on the radar data. The structure appeared to be circular, with internal chambers or voids radiating from a central point. It resembled a hub, a wheel, or a facility designed with radial symmetry. Natural formations don't have radial symmetry. Lava tubes, mineral deposits, glacial compressions, they're irregular, chaotic. This was designed. Dr. Hansen submitted his findings to the Journal of Glaciology. The paper was rejected, not because the data was flawed. The reviewers simply stated that the conclusions were too speculative. They suggested the radar signature might be a dense mineral deposit, despite the fact that no known mineral reflects radar like refined metal. Hansen tried again. He submitted to the International Journal of Antarctic Research. Same result, rejected for being inconclusive. He stopped submitting after that, but he kept the data. It's archived at the University of Copenhagen, and the structure is still there, 2.1 kilometers beneath the ice. Here's something even stranger. The unknown element in the alloy, the one that didn't match the periodic table. Dr. Simmons ran it through a mass spectrometer. The atomic mass was approximately 298, with a decay signature that suggested it was a synthetic isotope, not naturally occurring. For context, the heaviest naturally occurring element is uranium, with an atomic mass of 238. Elements heavier than that are synthetic, created in particle accelerators or nuclear reactors. They exist for fractions of a second before decaying, But the element in the alloy was stable enough to be present in a refined metal. That means whoever created it had technology capable of synthesizing heavy elements and stabilizing them. We only developed that capability in the mid-20th century. Dr. Simmons' report on the isotope was classified. She was informed it fell under national security protocols. When she asked why metal shavings from Antarctica were a national security concern, she was told she didn't have clearance to know. She left the program shortly after. In 2019, a whistleblower from the British Antarctic Survey, who requested anonymity, leaked partial radar images of the structure. The images showed what appeared to be a central dome with connecting corridors, all buried beneath the ice. The leak was taken down within 48 hours. The whistleblower's identity was never confirmed, but the images were circulated widely enough that independent researchers archived them. Dr. Martin Gray, a structural engineer from Imperial College London, analyzed the leaked images. He noted that the corridor dimensions, approximately 3 meters in width, suggested human-scale architecture. If this is real, he said, it was built for something bipedal, roughly our size, to move through. It's not a natural cave, it's a facility. Dr. Gray was subsequently barred from publishing further analysis after his university received a formal request from an undisclosed government agency to cease speculation on classified research. Now, let's consider the timeline. The ice above the structure is 12,000 years old. That means the structure predates the freeze. It was built when Antarctica was still habitable. But 12,000 years ago, human civilization was in its infancy. We have no evidence of metallurgy that advanced. We have no record of any culture capable of constructing facilities in Antarctica. Unless the record is incomplete, there's a theory, proposed by researcher Graham Hancock, that a global civilization existed before the Ice Age. A civilization advanced enough to build megalithic structures, map continents, and possibly refine metals. Hancock calls it a lost civilization, one that was destroyed by the catastrophic climate shift that ended the last ice age. Mainstream archaeology dismisses Hancock's theory, but the evidence keeps appearing. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a megalithic site dated to 9600 before Christ. The Sphinx in Egypt, with water erosion patterns suggesting it's far older than the pyramids, and now a metal structure under Antarctic ice, buried for 12,000 years. Each piece, individually, can be explained away, but together they form a pattern that suggests humanity's history is longer and stranger than we've been taught. Here's the final impossibility. In 2020, satellite thermal imaging detected a heat signature near the structure's location. The anomaly showed a localized temperature increase of 2 degrees Celsius, consistent with geothermal activity. But the heat wasn't coming from a volcanic vent or magma chamber. It was coming from the structure itself. Dr. Lisa Grant, a geophysicist from Stanford, reviewed the thermal data. She noted that the heat distribution was uniform, not concentrated in a single point like geothermal sources. It was as if the entire structure was generating heat, evenly, across its surface. She proposed one explanation: residual energy. If the structure contained a power source, something with a long half-life, it could still be emitting low-level radiation or heat after 12,000 years. Nuclear decay, for example, could generate heat for millennia, but that raises an even bigger question. If there's a power source inside the structure, what was it powering? Dr. Grant's proposal was never formally published. She was advised that further speculation without physical access to the site was not scientifically responsible. She complied. But the thermal data is still archived at Stanford, and the heat signature is still there. So here's what we know. A structure, approximately 150 meters in diameter, lies buried 2.1 kilometers beneath the West Antarctic Ice Sheet. It's made of a refined metal alloy containing titanium, aluminum, and an unknown synthetic element. It has radial symmetry, internal chambers and appears to be emitting low-level heat. And it's been frozen for at least 12,000 years. We know this because scientists detected it, drilled into it, analyzed it, and documented it. And then the research was classified. The samples were confiscated, and the researchers were silenced. Why? If it's just a mineral deposit, why classify it? If it's a natural formation, why revoke access? If it's ancient ice compression, why does it contain synthetic isotopes? The simplest explanation is the one no one wants to say out loud. The structure is artificial. It predates known human civilization. And it suggests that 12,000 years ago, someone, somewhere, had technology we're only now beginning to understand. Maybe it was a lost civilization. Maybe it was an outpost, a research station, a facility built by a culture that existed before the ice came and erased them. Maybe they mapped the world, refined metals, built structures, and left behind traces that we're only now uncovering because the ice is melting. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Something we don't have a category for yet. The structure is still there. Silent. Frozen. Impossible. And the ice above it is melting. In a few decades, with current warming trends, the West Antarctic Ice Sheet could thin enough to make direct excavation possible. When that happens, we'll know. But until then, the structure awaits. 2.1 kilometers beneath the ice. A mystery frozen in time. If you made it this far, thank you. Leave a like if this discovery stayed with you. Tell us what you think is buried under the ice. And remember, Antarctica is melting. Whatever's down there won't stay hidden forever.